Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of the Åland Week in Schools that is celebrated this week. And basically, we're doing this week because it's a centenary of the Åland Islands autonomy. Uh, and we want to celebrate it by bringing more information about the Åland Islands, about the history, the life there, and the culture to schools around Finland. My name is Noora Löfström, and I'm currently in Helsinki. And with me today, we have Pinja Harjunpää from Keep the Archipelago Tidy Association. Then we have Florian Evelens Marsen and Toni Cederberg from Husö.
Hello.
They're biologists and they know everything about what it's like to work at the biological station in the Åland Islands. And then we have about 60 students in Jyväskylä from the IB school with their teacher Arni also online. And my name is Noora Löfström and I work at the Prime Minister's office and I coordinate this week. And basically during the week we have a very nice schedule and we're today in Tuesday, which is the theme is it's the World Water Day of the UN today, and it's the Baltic Sea nature and environment that we're focusing on today. And actually, a fun fact is that Åland celebrates the Baltic Sea today. They have the Baltic Sea Day in March instead of in August, but they also celebrate the general Baltic Sea Day in August. So that's why the theme of the day is water, amongst other things. And the reason for that is that on the 23rd of March in 1974, the Baltic Sea states signed a convention regarding the Baltic Sea's marine environment, the Helsinki Convention. And this convention covers all different sources of pollution and forbids dumping waste in the sea, which is a very important thing. And it also forbids pollution in conjunction with research and the exploitation of the seabed. And we will hear more about research in the Baltic Sea from Husö shortly. And then also the Special Commission to Protect the Baltic Sea Marine Environment, the Helsinki Commission, HELCOM, was founded by the signatory states. And the UN World Water Day was introduced by the United Nations in 1992, and it's celebrated every year this year to lift all sorts of issues related to water. So I'm very happy that we have so many people online following us and that we all are able to, thanks to modern technology, speak about these important issues from different places in Finland. Yes, and if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat, and then also the students will be asking some questions later on. I think that's everything from me. This will take about 45 minutes, this discussion today, and it will be also available on YouTube later on if you missed something or if you want to go back and see it. And it's on the Jyväskylä Lyseo on their YouTube. Good. I love it that we can hear the birds chirping from the Åland Islands and that you're actually standing by the sea, which makes this a little more interesting. Of course, Pinja, also you're there by the sea. I can see it in your background picture. So without further ado, I'll give the word to Pinja Harjunpää from Keep the Archipelago Tidy Association to tell a little bit more about what they do and on other important topics. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Hi everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. As said, my name is Pinja, and I'm joining you from Keep the Archipelago Tidy Association. In Finnish, it might be a bit more familiar. It is Pidä saaristo siistinä ry. Our association was established in 1969, and it's a Finnish environmental organization for boaters and all those traveling in and around Finnish waterways. The association serves as the archipelago and coastal regions, and we try to keep it clean as possible. Our task and aim is to keep Finland's coastline and archipelago clean and to support opportunities for recreational boating and the enjoyment of all waterways in and around Finland. The activities of the association are diverse and they are very concrete. So you can join, you can participate, and you can also organize your own projects with us. We are involved in implementing and report and research projects. So we research and we try to educate along the way others as well. And did you know that in 1970s it was very, very used to that people just dump their trash in the ocean. They might put stones in their plastic bag so that it would sink, or then push it out on the ice and let the spring melt it away. So there is a lot of water in the waterways, but fortunately things are better now. But when we in the association took part in the Marlin project, which includes the Baltic Marine Leader, it turned out that the beaches in Finland were the most most trashy. So we had the most trash along our coastline than any other that participated in this project. And as a result, we created the Clean Beach program with the task to clean our country's beaches, collect information about littering of the beaches, and raise awareness of the littering situation and facilitate the combination of concrete environmental work and a fun day outdoors. So before anything else, I would like you to join us maybe and encourage you to take part of the Clean Beach project, whether it is with a school class or a hobby group, maybe a recreational group. So you can organize your own project and clean up your closest beach and do it together with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pinja. And we're participating in this cleanup challenge, and we'll actually have something coming up in June, but I'll tell you more about that at the end. So now over to Husö, to Toni and Florian.
Yeah, thanks. So me and Florian are standing here at Husö Biological Station today, and Husö is the field station of Åbo Academy University that was founded in 1959, and we have had a close cooperation with the government of Åland almost from the beginning. We signed a cooperation agreement in 1961. So we have been active for more than 60 years, and we studied the Baltic Sea to learn more about it, and also to help the government of Åland with environmental monitoring and also help with decision making. On top of that, we also teach the futures biologists like Florian here, as well as we also try to give information to the public, because nothing that we do here is secret. We want to share our results. You might also wonder why we study the Baltic Sea. Well, there are many reasons to that. One is that Baltic Sea is still evolving. It's a young sea on a geological scale. So we are still seeing species adapting to the special conditions that we have in the Baltic Sea. That is, the water is neither salt or fresh. Another thing why we study the Baltic Sea is because we as humans have had a great impact, a negative impact on the Baltic Sea. So we also want to understand in what way we have affected the Baltic Sea and what we can do to make it better. A third thing that is interesting about Baltic Sea is that it can be seen as a time machine, as things tend to happen much more quickly here compared to the vast oceans. For instance, the temperature is rising much faster in the Baltic Sea than in most of the other sea areas around the world. So in that sense, it's kind of a time machine, which also is interesting to look at. Then I think, well, there are many other things that is interesting with Baltic Sea, but I'll finish the list over there. So next thing, I think we have a clip, or we will watch a clip where you'll see what it is like to be out in the field during field courses or doing field work. I think Arne will take care of that.
Okay, and we are back.
Okay, so now you just saw a clip of what it's like to be out in the field as a biologist, and you also might wonder why or what are we studying. I'm talking about who we are and what we do, but I haven't touched so much of what we study. Well, we have three main study topics. Those are, first of all, eutrophication. That's the biggest threat to the Baltic Sea currently. As a runner-up, we have climate change. Climate change is very important to study in the Baltic Sea, and it's the second most, or it's a runner-up when it comes to threats to the Baltic Sea, at least for me. And then the third thing that we are studying is non-native species in the Baltic Sea. As I said earlier, the Baltic Sea is still evolving, and there are also new species coming to the Baltic Sea, either by human activities or in other ways, and it's very important to study those as well. And especially a combination of these three study subjects are good to study because they all interact and they all affect the Baltic Sea in ways that we don't even know yet. So we want to figure out more about these things. And next, I think Florian will tell you about what it can be when you are out in the field and things are not going as planned.
Yeah, last summer we had ourselves a field season, and I've never had that many things go wrong during one summer. So one time we went out into with a boat, and we went out to do some diving, and before we even left the harbor, well, the engine just stopped working, which was a bit of a problem. And then we took the boat up, had it repaired. So the next week we tried it again. And well, the dive went very nicely, really nice dive, very pretty. And then we drove back, and then, well, the engine kind of exploded. And yeah, then we had to get rescued by the Coast Guard, and it was a very interesting day.
Yeah, these things happen when you are out in the field. But it usually ends well, so which is nice. I think I will end my presentation with a clip of an amoeba cell going amok. And it's good to know that the magnification in the clip will be about 400, and the speed is sped up 50 times. So the things that you'll see on the clip is taking 30 minutes in the real time. But at least you'll see amoeba changing its form. Many of you have probably heard about amoebas are able to completely change their form. But how many of you have seen it in real life? Now you will get to see what it can look like. So please roll the clip.
And we are back again. That is a really fascinating presentation.
Yes, my closest connection to amoebas is the amoeba game where you evolve and do rock, paper, and scissors with others.
Yeah.
Super, but thank you very much for this presentation and for the very interesting videos you showed. And now I think we have time for some questions that the students have prepared.
Yes, all right. Please, you have your questions ready and you know which one you are asking, so go ahead. And please come close to the microphone whenever you are asking. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. So our first question was, what did you study to get into your position?
Who should start?
Well, you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I studied environmental biology at Åbo Academy University. So I actually took field courses and have some work practice here at Husö before I became the manager of the station. So that is what I've been studying.
And for me, I took a bit of a different route. I studied coastal zone management first in the Netherlands, and then I wanted to continue with marine biology. That, well, they didn't really allow me to do that. So then I decided to Sweden, did my master's in marine biology at the University of Stockholm. And then I, by chance, happened to find some summer positions here at Husö, and now I'm doing my PhD over here.
Oh, that's very interesting. Do you, Pinia, also want to read?
Yeah, sure. I studied education in Jyväskylä, and after I graduated, I said I want to continue a bit more, so I continued in Åbo Academy, but I guess it was my hobby which led me to the position where I am right now, interested in the Baltic Sea.
Thank you. No, it's very interesting that you can study different things and then end up somewhere completely different, or then you just continue on the route that you're on. And if anyone's interested, I studied political science, but have also done a lot of different courses on different kinds of things. So it's always good to keep up this lifelong learning. You have a second question.
Okay, do we have the next question ready?
Okay, so how did you develop an interest in this specific field?
Shall I start again? When I was younger, my hobbies were fishing and bird watching, among others. So it was quite easy to be interested about Baltic Sea. And I'm home from Jakobstad, Pietarsaari, which is on the coast of the Baltic Sea in Ostrobothnia. So I've always been close to the sea, and that also probably has helped. And I also seen the situation of the sea. So there are many things, and as I said, I was quite a lot out in the nature when I was younger, so it came quite naturally for me to be interested about the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, for me it's pretty similar. So I was always interested in nature, and then when I got to learn a tiny bit more about marine biology and underwater living and stuff, I was like, yeah, this is actually more cool than even terrestrial biology because it's so alien. So it's like you're visiting a completely different world, and yeah, I'm happy I made that choice.
How about you, Pinia?
Yeah, as said, I love sailing. I really like dinghy sailing or small sailboats where you are alone. And by that, you see a lot. You see several beaches and harbors, and you get to travel within Finland. So it kind of led from one thing to another, if you could say so.
Oh, it's very interesting to hear how you choose your path, and for the students, even if you choose something now, you can always change it later, but then it's easy to connect the dots later on, thinking like, okay, that hobby or that interest led to this, and so on. Do you have the next question?
So what does a typical workday look like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. As a manager, I never know when I come to work in the morning what the workday will be like. It also changes over season. Right now we are starting to prepare for the summer season, which is our high season when most of the things happen. During the winter, I actually helped the government of Åland to put together data and do some reporting to the EU and so forth. So it really depends from day to day, and it's hard to know when you go out in the morning to the work what the day will be like.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. So in the winter, I'm mainly busy with writing up articles and Well, I finished my lab work, but I used to spend a lot of time in the lab looking at all the little different animals that I collected. But during the summer, it gets a bit more exciting. So you start a day with, well, getting up, getting all of your sampling equipment. Last summer it was a lot of diving, so you get all the diving equipment in the boat. And then you take the boat out, you go to a really nice location in the archipelago, hopefully. And then you just go diving throughout the day. And, well, by the end of the day, you are done with that, and you do some more lab work, and yeah, that's about it.
I would love that. I really would love diving. For me, winter and summer are a bit different. In winter, it's mainly educational and regular office tasks. But when the snow melts, we are also outdoors with volunteer groups and school classes, cleaning up beaches and researching the nature.
And as Tony was saying about the government of Åland, because Åland is an autonomy with self-government, it means that they have even if it's only 30,000 people living on the Åland Islands, they still have their own government with 8 ministers, and then they also have a parliament with 30 members of parliament. So they have legislative powers in, amongst others, education and healthcare, environmental things, police, radio, postal services, and so on. So it's quite interesting that as well. And it's very nice that you collaborate closely with them.
Yeah, it's needed since there aren't that many people around here. So everyone needs to cooperate here in Åland to some degree.
Yes, do we have the next question?
What do you like most about your job, or what made you want to be a part of the team researching the Baltic Sea?
I would say the freedom, because at least my work, since I do so many different things, sometimes out in the field, sometimes in the lab, and sometimes doing something completely different. So it's kind of a freedom to know that you won't do the same thing day out and day in. That is what I would say is the best thing about my work.
Yeah, I would say it's also quite adventurous work. So especially if you have like last summer, the diving jobs that you go out far into the archipelago, and well, you never know what to expect. Something might explode or something might not explode. You might find some really cool animals or cool plants. I know, it's always fun to go out.
I like the social aspect and feeling like the work we do has an impact for a better future.
Yes, and the environment and sustainable development is also one of the topics of the Åland 100 anniversary year or centenary. So I think for all Finnish people and people living in Finland, on the Åland Islands, Jyväskylä, Turku, wherever, nature is quite important to us. It's something that we value. So it's great that you also in your daily work make sustainability and environmental protection more of a reality. Shall we take the next question?
So, how difficult would you consider your job to be, and what is the most difficult part of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's some things are harder than other things, but then again, it's a good thing that the work is not too hard, and it gives you like possibilities to develop and try to come up with things. That's also a big thing about being a biologist. At least you have to be good at problem solving sometimes. So, but yeah, what would be the hardest thing? I really don't know what is the hardest thing, because there's all kinds of different things that can be hard, but so far nothing has been too hard. So
Maybe the exploding boat engines?
Maybe.
Well, that wasn't really that hard. It was just like, oh, well, this happens. Let's call the Coast Guard.
And then I had to try to find a new engine well, maybe that was the hardest.
Probably, actually, yeah.
finding a new engine within a week in the middle of the summer when most people are on vacation, considering the shortage of all kinds of things right now. So we managed to find a new engine in 1 week, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I think the hardest part of my job is, well, writing scientific articles, and well, the writing itself isn't that hard, but getting it published, because you have some other researchers who look at what you wrote and then make sure, like, yes, is it actually true what you're saying, and do they disagree? Do they agree? Most of the time, the researchers always disagree with you're saying. Or you're trying to make a new method of measuring stuff or taking samples, and then you need to be good at improvisation, and well, that's also a really fun aspect.
I would say remaining patient, as things don't happen immediately. They might be planned for half a year from now, or in a few months, or next year. So remaining patient and still working towards the end goal, I would say, is the hardest part for me.
How would you say, how much is it desk work and how much can you be out in the field percentage-wise in your job?
Well, for me at least, it would be maybe 20% field work, and the rest would be all other kinds of lab work and desk work and so forth. It really is quite hard to put a number. It also depends on the year.
Yeah, for me, it's somewhere between 40 and 30% that I spend into the field, and then the rest in the lab and in the office.
Yeah, in the summer it's significantly more outside, but it's more paper stuff during winter.
Yeah, that's also good because in the summertime you want to be outside and you want to be in the water or on the beaches. Shall we take the next question?
Yeah, I think this one was already answered partially earlier during Toni's presentation, but I think we can go a little bit deeper maybe in the topics.
So, what kind of project or research are you currently working on?
Yeah, so here too, so we are just starting the season, so we will have lots of new projects, but it's very important algae that you in the water, and this project has looked at the phytoplankton during the winter. We don't know that much about what they do and what it looks like in the winter under the ice. And algae ice, and even in the ice there are plankton. But in the summer we will have a couple of projects looking at underwater vegetation, try to find more about those here in the Åland archipelago. We will also study some fish communities, have some test fishing, and then we'll also look at shallow bays and how much carbon they can store also. So we have a bit different project. Did I forget something?
Well, right now I'm writing one article for my PhD, which is about reed belt, so the stuff that we have growing behind us. So it's a habitat that hasn't really been studied much in the Baltic Sea, which is weird because we have so much of it. It's like growing everywhere in the inner archipelago, and a lot of people don't like it because it grows in front of your summer cottage and stuff. But in terms of biologically, like what's living there, there's a few small studies on fish. There's some young fish living there, pike. But in terms of invertebrates, we have no idea what lives over there. So yeah, I have to be the first one to figure that stuff out.
Sounds interesting, like really, really interesting. For me, we are working on the Clean Beach project and trying to get them fixed in the schedule so we know when people are going outside to clean so we can follow up and help as much as possible. And it takes up a lot of time, but when the summer season starts and we actually go outside, it's very nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
And next question. I love it that you just slide with your chairs.
Octonauts is a TV series about a team who cleans up seas and helps the plants and animals in them on top of researching the sea environment. It was my favorite series as a kid. Are you basically Octonauts?
I could say so. Since we are studying what's happening in the sea, and also if we find something, we trash and so forth, we also bring it back. For instance, about 10 years ago, when I was working as an assistant in a project, we found some old fishing nets, a ghost net, what you would call it. It was a couple of 100 meters long, and we took it ashore and threw it away. So yeah, we also clean when we find something.
And we spent some time on the water.
Yeah.
I might not be the Octonaut you're looking for, but the description suits a lot of people at our association.
Very good. I'm not too familiar with the TV series Octonauts, so I will need to look that up. Then I think there were a question about the Baltic Sea as well.
Yeah, so what is your favorite fish or algae or other sea creature in general?
I would say perch. I did my master's thesis on perch, and so I think it's an interesting fish to follow since it's so adaptable. It has adapted it's a freshwater fish, but it is very well adapted to the brackish water environment you find in the Baltic Sea, and it can also adapt to it can eat pretty much anything that fits in its mouth. So it's a really interesting fish, and on top of that, it's very good when smoked, for instance. So it's a nice organism or species.
I think I'm going to go for Cara horrida, which is a charophyte. It's, how do you call it? Like a subset of algae, but rather than normal algae, it has some roots and it grows very spiky. And there's multiple species of it, but horrida is a red-listed species in Finland. It's quite rare. It's a bit mysterious as well, and I'm always very excited when I find it.
Also, the charophytes are interesting because they are believed to be the closest relatives to the flowering plants on land. So they're also, in that sense, quite special. And very important in shallow bays for fish, as they use them to lay their eggs on, and also the young fish thrives in those charophytes because they offer protection, and there's lots of food in there also. And on top of that, those charophytes also are very good to keep the water clear in our bays. So.
Yeah, I would as well go with the perch. And if I remember correctly, it's the national fish of Finland, but I'm not entirely sure about that fact.
Yes, it is.
How about you, Nora?
I'd probably say amoeba after the video.
Okay, how about the next question?
What is the biggest living creature in the Baltic Sea?
Okay, we had a discussion here on it. I think it depends on how you look at it. Biggest animal I think that you regularly find in the Baltic Sea is the gray seal, but sometimes you might see basking sharks in the Baltic Sea. They have actually been in Stockholm archipelago in 1960s. There was a basking shark, and those can grow to be up to 4 tons in weight. So I guess those would be the biggest animals, but you wouldn't really see them that often. Then we also thought, well, what if we consider clones? Then we have other options. For instance, reed belts clone themselves. So you could look at a reed belt as one organism away. Or also eelgrass 1,000 years old. So they can be really big, have a really big mass, but yeah, they are clones. They are not like a single organism. But both reed belts and eelgrass meadows could be bigger than even a basking shark. But I would say the species that you regularly find in the Baltic Sea would be a grey seal.
Okay, should we move on then? We have 3 questions left. Do we still have time for all of them?
I think so.
Okay.
What is the most concerning thing about the state of the Baltic Sea?
Eutrophication, only eutrophication. So there's too many nutrients flowing into the Baltic Sea that causes algal blooms, which causes shading. So a lot of plants that need light, they don't do so well. And then what also happens is a lot of those algae, when they die, they sink to the bottom, they decompose, and they use up oxygen. And in the Baltic Sea, we actually have, which is a big problem. But well, climate change is catching up. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we're fairly certain it's going to be bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you have something to add, Pinja, or?
No, I'm just going to trust the professionals on this one.
Yes, the scientists. And
Yes.
biologists. Yes, we trust the science. Shall we take the second to last question?
Yes.
Has climate change changed your work? If so, how?
Yeah, it has. Climate change became a subject that we started studying more and more in the last 20 years. And as I told you earlier, it's like the second one of our 3 main subjects that we study today here at Husö, because we really need to know what happens in the Baltic Sea as the climate change progresses, because there might be really bad effects from it. So in that sense, it has changed our work and my work, because we constantly look at climate change as one factor when we are trying to understand the Baltic Sea. Do you want to add something, maybe?
Well, I mean, in my work, I don't work with it that much. Of course, we always think about it, like how is it going to affect things. But I've seen some small signs of climate change in my work. For instance, the Fucus belt, so the bladder wrack that grows around the rocky shores. It used to grow only to 1 meter deep, and then you have a big belt underneath it. But in later years, it grows from 50 meters down to the surface, and it doesn't sound very dramatically. But also due to eutrophication, the band in which it grows has gotten narrow. So in case we do get a colder winter at some point, and we get ice coming along and scraping it all off, then we're going to lose a huge portion of the bladder wrack, which is a very important keystone species in the Baltic Sea. So yeah, it's a bit worrying.
Of the people who volunteer with us and work with us. So it's giving a lot of hope.
that's great.
Sorry, Pinja, could you repeat me? The connection was a little bad.
I'm afraid I didn't hear what he said.
Okay, we are having some trouble.
What you just said.
Yeah,
But could you
Absolutely.
repeat?
yeah, absolutely. I've seen an interest in the people with who we work with. They are more interested than ever, and they actually know a lot. So it gives us hope.
Very good. Yeah, we shall not lose hope, and there's always something you can do. So shall we take the last question?
So yeah, is there anything we can do to help the Baltic Sea, like practical ways for regular people?
Yeah, well, you could always think about buying local is good, but yeah, this is a really, it would take quite a long time to.
I mean, basically, whatever effort you can do to combat climate change is going to be very helpful. If you look at fish consumption, try not to eat fish that have a huge carbon footprint or may facilitate eutrophication. Yeah, just don't leave your trash around. Pick up some trash, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
Just
if
a
you
lot of tiny things.
Yeah, if you eat fish, for instance, try to eat fish that are like, for instance, roach or bream or those kind of fish that we usually look as trash nowadays, but they're good fish to eat if you know how to make them. And as Florian said, anything that also counteracts climate change is a good thing. Also, just to be aware of the problems, that's a good thing, because many don't even understand how big the problems are, really. So just to learn more about it is like a good thing.
Yeah, I would totally agree on those tips. Like educate yourself and try your best, because you can actually make a change.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for all the excellent questions and for the good answers. And now I'd just like to say that with this Åland 100 years celebration, where we have a lot of different partners, in June, when it will be 100 years since the Åland Parliament convened for the first time, and that's on the 9th of June, that's Åland Autonomy Day. So we're planning this big beach and nature cleanup with different actors for the whole week. So from the 6th of June until the 12th of June, you can go and register your trash then on the Keep the Archipelago Tidy Association site. And we're also working with Städa Åland, Clean Up Åland. And this is called the Clean Up Åland 100 week and campaign. So I will send you more information about this. And we hope a lot of classes, a lot of organizations, different companies will join in this challenge, and we can together pick up trash, register it, and do it as sort of a commemorable way of remembering the 100 years of the Åland autonomy. So doing like a gift for the Åland autonomy for ourselves and for future generations to actually just do a little bit and go out and pick some trash during this week. So I think our time is up. If there are no further questions, I saw that there were people watching the stream, but I didn't see questions there. Just later on, or the UN World Water Day, and a nice continuation of the Åland week in schools.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.